Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! This happens in a large store in a European country. When you purchase something from them, and for any reason want to return the item, their policy is that they never give money back. They only give you a voucher redeemable the same day only. I went to the store today and purchased quite a long list of items. When I got home, my wife looked at them and said that we don't need some of them. I go back to the store, barely 20 minutes pass. The returns manager smiles at me as I tell her I just purchased these and would like to return them. She tells me that I stepped out of the store, so she can't refund me. Only give me a voucher and I must buy something else. I'd already brought everything I needed. Then she tells me to take the products home and keep them for the next time I would need to buy something. Then I can come back and get the voucher and redeem it. Imagine keeping a pair of shoes and a ball and remember to bring them with you the next time you happen to need something. I tried to reason, but she was adamant. Those are the rules. You stepped out of the store, you don't get a refund. And then it clicked. I asked, so if someone wants to return an item without leaving the store, they get the money back? Yes. You see where this is heading. Malicious compliance kicking in. I asked to return the items and get the voucher. I take the voucher, get inside the store, find a product for exactly the same amount, buy it with a voucher, and right after the cashier there is a returns manager. Straight from the cashier I go to her, hand her that random product I just bought and say I would like to return this. I don't want it, and I never left the store. She's looking at me with barely contained rage in her eyes. I kid you not. The awkward pause was getting longer, and then her manager comes along. He looks at us, and I smile at him and say, I never left the store, and I would like to get a refund for this, please. He nods, silent and not looking at me, and she proceeds to refund me the money in cash. Company policy, right? This is my first time posting here, but I love the other content and felt my story fit. I wasn't the direct out-of-work here lady, as that was my sister, but Karen did think I worked there as well. Backstory. This was over 20 years ago and still has me over tip when I go to restaurants. In my senior year of high school, I worked for my sister's company. She's 10 years older than me, and she and her husband owned a restaurant equipment service company. My sister was the office manager, and as such, she dresses in more business attire, and her husband was a lead technician. In my early years, I would help out and stock shelves, order parts, and sometimes help out with labor for large jobs. I was an all-state football lineman, just about 6 feet and 300-ish pounds with a lot of muscle in that bulk. So she liked that I could help carry the equipment around and help with installs and so on. But she also liked introducing me as her little brother. During my junior year of high school, I went to night classes as a local CC to get my HVAC license so that I could help them expand their business to include preventative maintenance contracts rather than just repairing/replacing things that were already broken. By my senior year, I was only in school for about 2 to 3 hours in the morning and working half days for my sister. We sold a lot of PM preventive maintenance contracts to a lot of her regular restaurant customers, and it was my job to perform said maintenance. So I was in the restaurants on a monthly basis, and depending on their contract, sometimes twice a month. I got to know the managers and cook staff quite well at a lot of these places, but not the wait staff as much. Well, the wait comment will lead to another r/out-of-work here lady story. Also, I might add our company uniform was very blue color. Literally, we wore blue work pants, blue service button-up shirt or blue t-shirt, and the shirts had the company name clearly printed on them, and I normally have a tool belt on. And I drive a full-size work van decked out with all the company details as well. This is normally parked outside. Nobody in their right mind would assume I was a security or police. On to the story. The cast consists of me, large teenager in a service uniform, the restaurant manager, a server, my sister, and two police officers, and introducing Karen as herself. I was working at a restaurant that was about 2 miles from Sis's office, and she decided to stop in and see me, as well as talk to the restaurant manager about the preventative maintenance contract and how things were going with it. As a maintenance contractor, I normally knocked on the kitchen door and rarely went through the main restaurant. On this occasion, Sis met me in the parking lot and we went in the back door together and met the restaurant manager at the kitchen door. The manager invited Sis and I to go have lunch and he'd come and chat with us as his office was small and aside from the desk, there was only one other chair. We entered the restaurant from the kitchen area and sat ourselves. I'm a quick eater and I got paid by the hour, and that didn't include lunch. So as soon as I was done eating, I excused myself and let Sis and the manager continue their meeting when I went to work in the kitchen. I was about halfway through cleaning the ice machine, trying to get it done between their lunch and dinner rush, as all ice had to be dumped during cleaning, when the Nextel on my hip crackled. Those who may not know about the Nextel, it was a cross between a cell phone and a walkie-talkie, and could be used either way. Anyhow, I hear the Nextel crackle without the standard process at the time of making it beep first to get someone's attention prior to just jumping in with talking, and normally missing the first part of what is said. It is Sis yelling to bring out the manager to the dining area right away. I hustled toward the manager's office located off to the side, kinda between the kitchen and the dining room, and get there at just about the time he's rushing out of the office. I can only assume because he heard the commotion in the dining room, he and I come out of the back right after one another to see Karen yelling at Sis, while plucking her into the booth. Karen to Sis, "The server is so dumb. She won't get the food. She should be fired right now." "I'm sorry, but like I said, I don't work here," my sister tells her, while holding out her business card.
"Why do you keep saying that? I know you do. Stop lying to me."
The manager says, "Sorry ladies, can I help? What seems to be the matter here?" I'm standing about 3 feet behind and to the left of the manager, with a not too good look on my face and my arms crossed. Karen, while looking directly at me, not the manager,
"Good. You need to get her out of here,"
pointing at the server.
"Get her out of my sight."
I must have changed my expression from angry she was yelling at my sister to a look of shock, because she just got more angry and started yelling at me.
"Are you stupid too? Just do your damn job and get her out of my sight."
Granted, I was young and didn't have the best grades, so I was a bit sensitive when I was called stupid, so I puffed out my chest and stepped towards Karen and said, me, in an angry voice, "What did you just say to me?" At this point, the manager put his hand up to stop me, and I had only taken one step closer, so he didn't even make contact with me. Karen started screaming,
"Call the cops! Call the cops!"
My look went down to that "what is going on here" look. The manager gestured to the server with fingers to his ear like a phone, and she went to the kitchen. The manager again says, "Ma'am, what is going on here? Is there anything I can help you with?" Karen responding to the manager now by pointing at Sis,
"Leave me alone and let me talk to your manager, and take your attack dog with you."
We all assumed she was referring to me with the attack dog statement. So the manager says to me, "Hey John, can you just step back into the kitchen please?" I just gave him a look and looked at my sis, who was still stuck in a booth with a crazy Karen standing over there. He followed my gaze and looked back at me. And again he says to me, "Okay, just step back a bit and see if I can calm her down." I took a few steps back, leaned on a partition wall between sections of the dining room and recrossed my arms. I should point out that where we were in the dining room was a back section, but there were two ways into this section divided by a small half-wall dividing booths with an entry on both sides, so I wasn't blocking any access point to the area. The manager says to Karen, pointing at Sis, "Ma'am, she's not the manager, I am. What is the problem here?" Karen says,
"Why is everyone lying?"
Then she says to Sis,
"What are you going to do about this?"
Sis tells her, Ma'am, would you please take a look at my business card? I do not work here. At this point, Karen smacked my sister's hand, knocking the business card to the floor without reading it.
Then why did I see you coming out of the kitchen and meeting with the other employees? Why did you have them sign paperwork if they are not working for you?
We do maintenance for the restaurant, and I was asking the manager to update his contract.
You're lying. You don't have lunch with a security guard and the other employees to clean their bathrooms.
Sis then got that confused look on her face. The manager and I looked at each other with that same look. I guess the only maintenance that people think of at a restaurant is cleaning the bathrooms. The manager tells her, "Ma'am, she's a vendor of ours. I am the manager. Can you please stop hovering over her like that?" Karen to the manager,
"Didn't I tell you to leave me alone?"
At just about this time, the server came back into the dining room and whispered to the manager. Not sure what was said, but I assume the police were on the way or something to that effect. And just as expected, the sight of the server made Karen go off the deep end, which I did not realize got any deeper than it already was. Karen turned toward the server and took a step in her direction. And as she did, Sis took the opportunity to get out of the post and ran towards me. The manager stepped between Karen and the rest of us, Sis, server, and me, and gestured for us to go into the kitchen. Now at this point, we couldn't hear everything, but periodic yelling from Karen, but it gave us a chance to ask the server what in the world happened. The server says, "She's a whack job and comes in a lot. She always complains and never leaves a tip. This time, she just ordered her normal, and when I asked what that was, she got angry with me." The server went on to say how the lady wouldn't tell her what she wanted, just kept saying her normal food and then threw the menu at her. Got up and walked over to Sis. A few minutes into the server telling us her story, another server came in laughing and saying the cops just showed up. About another minute or so later, the manager came back and said we would need to talk to the cops. As we went out, it would appear that when we came out and Karen had a few moments with the police officers, her story was even more crazy than I could imagine. Karen says to the first police officer pointing towards me,
"That's him. He pulled his gun on me. I want him arrested now."
The police officer looked at me, while the other police officers started walking over to the group of us that came out of the kitchen. Then the first police officer looked back at Karen and said, "I thought you said it was a security guard."
"Yeah, that one."
Their conversation continued, but the first police officer was taking her outside to talk and we were occupied with the other one. We spent the next few minutes going over what was going on to the second police officer. I admitted to yelling at her and taking a step towards her when she called me stupid, but I was never close to her or even raised a hand towards her. The officer kept asking us about a gun, but we all had the same story that nothing like that happened, and I told him I was just about to turn 18 and didn't even own any guns, which was true. The officer went outside and both officers were talking for a bit, while you could see Karen still ranting. After what felt like another 5 or so minutes, we saw the first police officer turning Karen around and putting handcuffs on her. Then after they got her in a cop car, both police officers came back in. It would appear she was supposed to be medicated and hasn't taken her medication. The police officer asked my sister if she wanted to press charges for slapping her hand, and something else, but I cannot really recall what. She said yes, and later on she dropped the charges. She said she only wanted Karen to learn a lesson to not do this again, after she must have felt how is it like to be charged. A couple of years ago, I took a fantastic job as an IT manager in a remote role for a healthcare company. It was the best job I'd ever had, best salary, total freedom, had a wonderful boss who trusted me to do my job. I was brought on to create an internal IT team. We have been all an outsourced IT for a company that had 19 offices in 3 US states, and I was given free rein to create the team as I saw fit. I hired the great sysadmin for both our California and Missouri markets, and I served that role for Alabama. The employees loved us. Most tickets were resolved in an hour or two instead of the outsource company taking a day or two, and maybe not fixing the issue still. We were saving the company close to $500,000 per year in outsource cost versus our salaries. The figure does include savings on licensing that the outsource company never cared to audit. It was glorious. But my boss decided to become a stay-at-home dad. I was looking to advance to his position, but our new CEO instead created a new VP of IT position for a guy she had worked with for 7 previous years. Ha! Sadly, the new guy was a micromanager of micromanagers. He had my company credit card closed. I went from a discretionary limit of $10K to having to ask his approval on $10 network cables. He put himself on every account, removed most of my authority. In effect, I was demoted to senior sysadmin. One day I visited one of our sites and picked up a bunch of stuff. 5 desktop PCs. We had moved to laptops only. A carton full of keyboards, mice, cables, weird odds and ends. The idea was that I would take it to one of our other facilities and store it there, save the desktop PCs that I would ship to our outsource partner. Well, I went on vacation only to come back to discover that the previous Friday had been my last day. I was getting 2 weeks severance and they were eliminating the department entirely. I asked the VP about the equipment and he told me to ship it all to him and he'd dispense of it. Now, I assumed he'd want me to ship it to the outsource company, or at least do so with the PCs, but no. The thing is, the VP lives in Colorado. We have no branches there. The outsource partner is in Missouri, meaning that no matter what, he'd at least be reshipping those PCs to Missouri. Oh well. I went to FedEx and carted all the crap in. They offered me various methods, but I told them that it was all going on the company's account to ship it ground per VP, but to do so in whatever method made them the most money. They spent well over 3 hours carefully wrapping and packing all of that crap, charged the company several $100s. By my best estimate from previous shipping I had done with them, it was about triple what it should have been. And of course, the VP also had to pay to ship those desktops again. But hey, he told me to do it. Company held my severance until they got the equipment, so I guess I satisfied their requirements. Also, screw that guy. He's a thief, and I know it. And I even turned him in. But the company, well, they did nothing.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.